Awesome, thank you, Jackie. I appreciate it. Well, thank you guys all for being here today. We're going to be talking about CAR today, and we'll explain what that means. But we really want to make sure that you understand this is about self-determination at any age. This goes for anybody. So first, the most important person is going to introduce themselves, right?
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. I am Caesar Delonso. I'm a 20-year-old with cerebral palsy quadriplegia. Right now, I am currently a youth leader for the Virginia Department of Education's Undetermined Project, and I'm also a liaison for the Allied Alliance at the Arc of Virginia. Really quickly, I want to thank my family for their support, because if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be here today. So, thank you.
And my name is Meghan Hyatt. I'm a program specialist at the VDOE's Training and Technical Assistance Center at VCU. I got a whole title there. It's a mouthful, but I'm also an IMD determinator, and those are the adults that get to work with this awesome project. And actually, we have another youth leader in the room right now too, Alex over there. He's also one of our youth leaders. Thank you for being here, Alex. And so today we're going to talk about self-determination, right? Okay, I was like, whoop. So we're just going to start with this video, and I think it's a really nice overview of what the I'm Determined project is, because I know there may be people at different levels of knowledge of what the program is, and this is just a really great, nice overview.
Back in 2006, the Virginia Department of Education was looking at post-school outcomes for students with disabilities. And we found that students weren't attending their IEP meetings. They couldn't really explain what their disability was. They couldn't really name any rights under IDEA or any accommodations they were supposed to be getting as a result of receiving special ed services. It was kind of a wake-up call. What we realized is we shouldn't be surprised that we're not seeing positive post-school outcomes, because students really aren't, receiving the services they need, and certainly aren't aware of what their strengths, preference, interests, or needs are. At that time, 3 different universities across the state and the Department of Ed came up with this idea of, let's focus on self-determination.
Self-determination, what we like to teach to the youth is just really being able to think through situations on your own. Doesn't mean that you're always by yourself or isolated, but it's knowing how to ask for help and when to ask for help when you need it, and then when to kind of take things on by yourself. The structure of I'm Determined, we have a statewide network that works in regions. So Virginia's split up into superintendent regions. We have youth leaders in each region, and we have what we call determinators in each region, which are the adult staff. And what we do is we combine those efforts and try to work with students, educators, and parents if they're wanting to know about, how do I get my youth involved in their education? I've seen students go to their own IEP meetings and be involved or lead the meeting. What do I need to do that? That's when we can step in and say, okay, we have tools that can help you kind of prepare for something like that. But we also have these youth who have been through it and can share their story.
In elementary school and middle school, I didn't have a good understanding of my disability. All I knew was I was a little bit different, because as everyone else was sitting in the class taking their test, I would always be taken out, or I'd be taken out of my classroom at random times. Going into the IMD project, I learned a lot more about myself and the struggles that I have with my disability, like my processing and my flipping of words, and not just words, but sometimes concepts and things like that. But I also learned, how to advocate for myself and what I need. To go and advocate for yourself for people who understand, it's a lot easier to put yourself out there. And once you start getting comfortable with people that you're comfortable with, it's easier to do it with people who may not understand what you're going through as much. But you have the confidence now to go out there and say, hey, this is what I need, and for me to work at my best level.
I think my own personal journey that also I think is reflective of the organization is that I came into this project thinking I have to be the advocate, that I have a lot to speak to the answers that are needed in the educational system. And I think as we've developed and we've grown, it's been a lot less of myself speaking into that and a lot more of empowering individuals with disabilities and youth with disabilities to speak into that. If I'm the one saying it instead of the youth, there's a lot of presuppositions or a lot of assumptions that I'm making about that person's experience. Whereas if it's the person speaking themselves, it's their identity, it's their world, it's their experience, and that's invaluable to hear.
I can't say disability gave me a voice, but I can say that they gave me a lot of opportunities to use my voice and get comfortable with the fact that some people might not understand it, but I still get my point across.
First of all, self-determination is not an end goal. It's something you're constantly working on. It's a journey. And barriers don't end just because you graduate high school. If you go on to college, there's barriers. If you go to work, there's barriers. And watching them successfully navigate that and then share those stories with us, I mean, that's the best. That's what keeps me going.
It's focused on pre-K to 12, mostly K to 12 education. And we do really focus on that transition age, that 13 to 21 age, but we're starting to really branch into pre-K and elementary school because these skills are important at every single age, even past high school. But because we're sponsored by the Department of Education, we kind of have to focus on the K-12. Yeah.
My experience, I was study and I worked with the Hanover County. Also, did you guys go for the DD waivers? Or you guys private?
Yeah, it's not just a statewide funded project. So we're in the schools and we have like some events and stuff, and we'll kind of talk a little. Well, actually, no, we're not talking about that today. We do have some like statewide events that we have youth attend. We don't, that's not part of our scope. That's not part of what we do. Yeah. Okay. Great. Cesar, take it away.
So, what a great way to lead into our discussion today. So, we value y'all's opinion and you guys' feedback. So we have a little activity here where we're going to ask you to look up at the screen. We want you to focus on the picture of the rocket and tell us what you see.
Yeah, what do you see?
Stars.
You see stars? Awesome. Anybody else? Yeah.
I see the primary colors.
Okay, primary colors.
Anyone else?
Yeah.
Well, I'm understanding that.
Oh, go ahead. He already started, sorry.
That's okay.
Go ahead.
Man, what I'm trying to explain to you, from the understanding of it, and he was trying to tell us in the video, he was trying to do other activities with the activity, what he was doing on the screen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I see what looks like graphs intersecting
Oh, okay, I've never heard that one before. That's a good one. I like that. Yeah,
They're very colorful.
it's very colorful.
To me, all people with disabilities have dreams. So, someone once told me through, I forget who it was who initially said it, but I go for your dreams. If you fail, you'll land them on the stars. So
Yeah.
don't give up hope.
Nice, nice.
Yeah, so first thing that I want to catch your attention back to is the 3 stripes. The first stripe I want to focus on is the stripe in the middle, because that's the most important piece. That's the individual with the disability, right? He is driving that rocket. And that red stripe that kind of looks like an arm represents the family that support the person with the disability. And the yellow stripe represents the educators and any organization that supports the person with the disability to be self-determined. And one thing that I like about the logo is that this rocket is shooting for the stars, and that's hard. That's a hard task to do. So we need all these components in order to reach for the stars.
All right. Here's the note. So what does self-determination look like? What do you see when you look at this picture? Do you see? Just shout it out. Yeah. Happiness. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
With that picture that you were just showing, it looks like they're being stressed.
They're stressed. Oh, yeah, because he's kind of serious. Yeah. Determined. Excited.
Mad maybe here?
Mad.
Oh, determined.
Yeah. Ready for whatever comes at him, right? Okay. What about this one? Passion. Empowered.
And that photo like right there looks like they're doing karaoke.
And told me to say so. Yeah, we do. Yeah.
Party people.
We like to party. We do.
Here's another picture. So we just, again, want you to observe the picture and tell us how self-determination is being demonstrated through this picture.
They this picture really makes me so happy. To be honest with you, they got group of people out there, and they are doing awesome vibes.
They are. And are they working by themselves? They're working together as a group.
It looks like these are a lot of the puzzle pieces that they're trying to intertwine. They're trying to get the puzzle made, I guess.
Yeah.
You guys see in the picture.
He's a little hesitant.
They're doing their homework.
Oh, they're working together doing homework. Help somebody. You look like they know each other. Maybe they're part of the same community.
They're friends.
Yeah.
They like each other.
Yeah.
On Zoom right now.
Yes, it is being recorded on Zoom.
It also looks like this guy is either showing him or I'm sorry, not him, her, showing her, I guess, where to write or where it is in the booklet, I guess.
Yeah. Maybe he knows what's supposed to be happening. He's feeling really like he's kind of a leader.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or he could be trying to teach her.
Yeah, exactly. It's me. So let's talk about it. What is self-determination? And we have a video here from our friends at Quillo. Let's see if it loads. Okay. And this is Teresa Grossi, and she's the Director of Strategic Development at the Indiana Institute on Disability and Community at the Indiana University Center for Excellence at Indiana University. How many times can I say Indiana in one sentence?
So when we talk about self-determination, we talk about people who are self-determined, and or a lot in the education world, we talk about teaching self-determination skills. So when we think about who are those people who are self-determined, they're people who are very self-aware about themselves, their strengths, what they like and don't like, as well as being able to advocate for themselves. But it also encompasses the making choices, problem solving, decision making, which all intertwine with each other. Self-advocacy is a big piece of self-determination, but before you can get to that point of making the choices, you need to know your preferences and your likes, your strengths, and what are your needs.
So that was just a general definition of what self-determination is. And at the I'm Determined project, we talk about three things: competence, autonomy, and relatedness. And those three things together help us drive our own car. Okay, so that's why we call it CAR, because it gives us, we want to be independent. We want to drive our own lives, right? So these three things help us get there. And we have a really quick video that helps explain it in a really nice way.
The I'm Determined project aims to encourage self-determination in youth so they can chart a path to independent living by taking control over their own lives, setting goals, believing in themselves, and starting down a pathway to achieve their dreams. While explaining self-determination can't be completely broken down in a single video, let's touch on three important aspects: autonomy, competence, and relatedness. The ability to control what happens to you in any given situation is called autonomy. Living autonomously requires having chances at practicing life, making choices on your own, and recognizing the outcomes of those decisions, even when those choices might result in failure. By practicing autonomy now, over time, you'll be able to gain confidence in your own abilities. These practice opportunities can be as simple as choosing chores to complete at home, or in a school setting, being given the opportunity to make decisions in your education. Feeling like you have the skills needed to complete a goal is known as competence. One part of competence is having the skills needed for whatever task you're setting about to do, but the other part, which is just as important, is believing that you have those skills. Identifying strengths and weaknesses can help foster competence, and similar to autonomy, finding opportunities to practice will eventually lead to true competency. You can start right away by trying to answer questions or solve a problem on your own, and parents or caregivers can help foster competence by providing positive and constructive feedback. Relatedness is feeling a sense of belonging. This could be to a family, community, classroom, or school. Fostering relatedness centers around finding opportunities inside and outside of school for youth to spend time with people who have similar interests or goals. This could be something like joining a basketball team to having a part-time job at an animal shelter. In addition, being aware of your disability, identifying strengths, and setting goals are all important factors in boosting relatedness and feeling a sense of belonging. I'm Determined teaches that practicing specific skills, abilities, and beliefs strengthens these three important aspects. We invite you to explore some of the resources and tools we've developed to equip you on your journey to becoming a self-determined individual.
So we could easily talk about competence, autonomy, and relatedness all day long, but we can't. And it won't let me go forward. Sorry, wouldn't let me go forward. There we go. But generally, competence means knowing how to do something and having the skills to know how to do it already, that background knowledge. Autonomy is having the freedom to make the choices that you want to make at any age, and that might be different at when you're a three-year-old. from when you're an adult, but being able to make the choices that are appropriate for that age. And then having that connection with your community, whether that's your family, your teachers, your church, some clubs, organizations that you're in, having a community that is there to help support you while you make decisions and choose things for yourself. Okay. So in that video, you kind of heard them talk about skills, abilities, and beliefs. So we have the car, and then we have some elements that kind of help us decide those things. So some skills, being able to make a choice, okay? You know, making a decision. Choices might just be one or two things. Decisions might be a lot of things you have to choose from or help decide going forward. Problem solving, being able, if something happens and I don't know what to do at that moment and it's not what I planned for myself, how do I kind of go around that, right? And make sure that I get to where I want to be. Abilities, being able to set a goal for yourself and how are you going to make that goal? Because unfortunately, we haven't figured out how to just snap our fingers and make something happen yet. I'm working on it, but haven't figured it out yet. So sometimes we have to do things to reach a goal, right? We can't just get there right away. We might have to be able to regulate our emotions and our feelings, our behaviors, right? We need to be self-advocates. We need to say, this is what I need right now to help accomplish this goal. And then we have our beliefs. Yeah.
The two you just touched on, and Jesse, you and touch on this. When right say we right and you Jesse and what's your
Cesar.
right with the man and we're talking about one day. As a self-advocate, I love being self-advocate because it's not knowing how people in the state of Virginia go helping my community out.
Yeah, it's an important part of our lives. Not just people with disabilities, everyone. We all need to be able to say what we want and advocate for ourselves to find our path in life, what we want to do with our lives. And then we also have those beliefs. We got some big words here.
Yeah, this one doesn't involve driving, does it?
No.
Alright, let's see what the, okay, never mind. I'll chat with you later. We'll go to the one next door.
Okay. So we have that locus of control. Being able to know that I have control over things that happen in my life, the self-efficacy belief that I have the ability to get there, and then that awareness, understanding, you know, maybe this is my strength and this is something I need to work on, or this is something that I'm not so great at, and what my ability is within that. So all of these things tie into our car, right? And that those three core things. Do you remember what they are?
Competency, ability, and
Related autonomy, autonomy, and related. So, like I said, you have those skills, abilities, and beliefs, your competence, autonomy, and relatedness, and then you get Cesar. You know, your own person, your own self-advocate. Things happen a lot of the times. I like to say in all of my presentations, especially to adults that work with children, especially children with disabilities, a lot of the times things happen to people with disabilities, but we need to be doing it with them. Yeah. Right? You're part of the conversation. We're not doing it to you. We're doing it with you. Okay.
Thanks, Meg. That was perfect segue. So now, like Meg said earlier, anyone can speak on what they think self-determination is, but sometimes it helps to have a real world example. So this is my favorite part. This is the part that I call story time.
And you got 10 minutes.
Um, This is the part where I'm going to share a story about my school experience. And I want you guys to try to identify those three components that we talked about: competence, autonomy, and relationship as I speak. And try to connect that to my story so that you guys can go out and practice it. So the story I'm going to talk about is when I was in 6th grade, I was a Prince County School middle school student. And when I first arrived in Prince County, they did not have no one-on-one aid for me to be with me in classes. And because of my cerebral palsy, it's hard for me to like you down. So I needed someone to write as I read a lot, but they didn't have the personnel for that. So what ended up happening was they would put in requests for substitutes. And those who remember their school years know that substitutes are not reliable because they can show up one day and not show up the next. So I would find myself in weeks where I wouldn't have known, and I wasn't getting any work done, not because I did not want to get the work done, but because I didn't have the proper tools. So it was so bad that I almost failed my 6th grade science class. And the teacher had the audacity to get mad at me and tell me why I was failing her class. And I said, it's because I'm not getting the proper system. So right there, I showed competence. How did I show competence? Because I was able to identify what I needed and what I needed to do to get those things. So that's the knowledge and skill. So what I ended up doing was repeatedly going to the principal's office and saying, hey, I have my teachers yelling at me because I'm not completing my work. What are we going to do about providing me a one-on-one assistant? And the school division did what they usually do. They threw a big pity party and they said, Caesar, we're trying to hire someone, but you're just going to have to wait. And we're just going to have to hope and pray that a substitute comes. And that's how I was practically towards the end of 6th grade. And the Lord, He always provides. A substitute came in one day, very nice lady. We bonded. She knew how to support me. So I went back to the AP and I told them that I was able to get my coursework done for the first time in forever. So he said, Caesar, I'm going to do this for you. He said, I'm going to call this person and I'm going to offer her a full-time position teaching us to take it. If so, you're in good shape because you'll have an assistant to help you. Thanks to God, this lady told him, yeah, I bonded with Caesar. I really like Caesar. I'm willing to take this job. So I had an assistant all the way through 11th grade, and then COVID hit. Then I had to do things differently, had to use assistive technology. And deal with those hurdles because I didn't have a one-on-one assistant. And obviously, my family, thank God, since I was home, they were able to support me as well. So with all those hurdles, I kept on advocating. I kept on identifying my needs, and I was able to graduate high school. Not only did I graduate high school, but I graduated with an advanced diploma. Your excitement doesn't end there.
Just wait.
I received recognition for outstanding academic achievement. So quickly, the takeaway I want you to take from my story is that it's very important that as families, as educators, as people who support people with special needs, is that you guys start introducing what self-determination is and giving them those spaces to practice self-determination. Because a lot of times, families and people with disabilities tend to hover over people who have disabilities. And they tend to think that that is something that's going to benefit them. But what they don't realize is that mom and dad is not always going to be here. You cannot rely on having a support. And if the individual is not able to advocate for themselves, they're going to fall into a big hole. So really, my message is really start giving your child, your person with a disability, a chance to drive their own car, to really know what it means to stand up for themselves. So that's my story.
I just want to add on to that too, because I think that you did a really great job telling that story, Cesar. And I think we have to give our children opportunities to fail sometimes too, you know, and that's really hard, I think. And so from that failure, then we get to make decisions and problem solve, right? To find the thing that works for us. And obviously Cesar has done that remarkably well.
So I'm just gave you all my story. So now Undetermined has some resources to start helping your person with a disability start developing their self-determination skills. And on this screen is one of my favorite tools from the project. It's called the one pager. This tool is used to develop the person's self-awareness. So I filled one out to provide you guys with an example of how you guys could use it. So it takes 60 seconds. So look this over, kind of get an idea of how these tools can be used, and then in later slides we'll provide more help and guidance as to how you can start implementing them.
Next one.
So here, as you can see, my one pager was a grown-up, but here are some examples of how even preschoolers, right, can draw pictures, right? It doesn't have to be typed in a written format. They can draw pictures and communicate what their strengths, what their preferences, and what their needs are, right? And then on the right, there is also, let's say you had a person that used an iPad and used pictures to communicate. You can see how you can use pictures to fill out your one pager. So the point is that there's not just a set in stone way to use it. You can use these tools and make it your own.
Yeah.
So on the Undetermined website, when you explore these different tools, we have what we call a web app, where the person with a disability can go on their tablet or on their computer and really, there's different pictures that they can click on and slide over into the different categories. And that's just another way for them to access the one pager. And the good thing about this is that after they're done, you can print them off or email them to a teacher, parent, whoever. They're very portable. So these can be used to at the IEP meeting. This can be used anywhere. Like I heard stories where people have used this one pager tool to take to their job interview. And it just provides a good 60-second overview of who they are. So,
and you could even have it as like, if you have a resume, if you're working, you know, with somebody who's supporting you in a job site, you know, having that resume there, and then even having it as a QR code, and they can look at that as well. Yeah.
And I don't know if you guys, how many people deal in the actual school system. They have probably what one case manager may have 20 files of 20 different IEPs. What this does is it shortens that IEP down to a few sentences or down to a few things to let that case manager know, hey, I'm really good at attention to detail. I need help with, I don't know, history or science, or I need more time taking tests. So it really simplifies and shortens that 30-page IEP that 20 other people have down to that short.
And it also gives you an avenue to have a voice as well in that conversation.
Yeah, and I was gonna say, it would also be helpful for like higher education, because I know this is more like K-12, but like, since you do have to disclose to your professors in higher education, and most of the times they get like a very generalized letter that just states your accommodations and nothing about your conditions, and it's up to you to do that every single time. And so this is a great way of like automating that almost.
Yes.
And, like you can sort of like use this as a way to give to your professors in addition to your accommodation.
Right. Yes.
Hi, my name's Vivian. I know a couple people from Hanover County CSBs, and I talk to them daily. Because I'm in a day program and they come and go out in the day. And I see people, when I talk to them, they go, yes, we use this technology. And I have one as well on my computer.
Perfect.
But mine is different than this.
Yeah, that's the web app version. So it looks a little different. That's the one from the website. So we did want to make sure you guys are aware, you know, we talk about spin. So those strengths, things you're really good at, preferences, the things that you prefer in your life, the things that you like, the things that you're interested in, which I think preferences and interests sometimes cross over each other, and then the things that you need. And there is a link to go to the one pager website, because we only had an hour. Again, I could talk about this all day, but we don't have that time. And there are a few overview videos on here that tell you about it a little bit more in depth. There are individual videos. If you still don't understand what strengths mean, what preferences mean, interests or needs, there's some videos that explain it a little bit further. And then at the very bottom, you have the template, the fillable PDF template. So you could type it on your computer or print it off if you prefer. There's an implementation guide, which gives you some questions you might want to ask yourself while you're filling out each section. And then at the very, very bottom is that web app. So that gives you the ability to go through and fill out like the one that we showed you at the very end there. So we wanted to give you 10 minutes to fill this out, but we had such great conversations. we don't have 10 full minutes left. We only have about 4 more minutes left. So before you leave, I do want you to take a copy of the one-pager, as well as it has the implementation questions on the very back. So you can fill this out on your own. Hold on one second. If you'd like to do it now, I did print out QR codes. This is a QR code to the landing page, that page that shows you all those videos and everything, as well as the web app, if you wanted to go ahead and do the web app now. But there's one more thing. There's more. Before we go, we have more than just that. So we also have something called the Good Day Plan. And this is good for anybody. I do want to make a note that I have actually recommended some of these tools to friends who have, you know, elderly parents. You know, like everybody needs to be able to identify, you know, what they need in their life, right? And so a Good Day Plan might be like, I need a cup of coffee in the morning, and I need about 5 minutes to myself before anybody talks, right? So we all that dictate what a good day is going to look like for us, and especially when we're having difficulties with dysregulation, like we talked about in that keynote this morning. You know, this gives an avenue to kind of identify, what do I need so that I can help regulate, self-regulate. We also have something called the goal plan. So this is especially, I think, good for IEPs, but it could be something for your job site as well, right? This is something I'd like to be able to do better, and this is how I can get there, okay? So, go ahead, sorry. He was gonna talk.
So now, we just want to open it up. I know we're short on time, but we just want to open it up really quickly. If you guys have any additional questions for Meg or I, or any comments, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. No, say sorry. What did you go for it?
Could this help, like, okay, so I'm right now in college, struggling with one of my math classes.
Yeah.
And I was wondering if this could help me get through,
Yeah.
or how could, I guess my question is, I've been undetermined.
Yeah, like the event, yeah.
But I know this was designed for kids K through 12. How could this help me going forward, like into my bachelor's and into my master's? How to try to get through the courses that I'm struggling with?
Yeah, so like all of these skills that we talked about, although our program is focused on K-12 because that's where the grant money goes to, right? It's really the end-all boring. The grant money goes to, you know, these things, all of the things that we talked about today are good at any age, right? So all of the elements, the car, you know, any of these tools can be used at any point. If you could sit down with your professor and say, look, this is where I'm at. I'm having a really hard time with this. Can we make a goal plan together and kind of talk about, here's a goal that I would like to have. Here, what do I need to accomplish by the end of this class? And how can you help me, you know, get there? Because that's why professors have office hours, right? You could go to their office hours and take one of these tools with you and sit down with them and come up with a plan together. And then you have it down on paper. So when you forget about the plan, because sometimes that happens, you've got it on paper, right? Did you have a question?
Yeah, my question was, what helped you to not let anyone or your teacher stop you from being you and representing your outseek and to overcome your fears of being able to not make all your dreams and your IEP, like, you know, your planning schoolwork?
Well,
Because I feel like, you know, when I was in school, there's you know, even with me, I feel like there is some things, you know, being in special ed community too and regular classes that I've definitely excelled, but there are things that I wanted to know more, and just other things I'm not saying that not learning with me from where I was placed, and I just feel like, you know, I'm kind of glad where I'm at and what happened out of that process, but I wanted to know where were you thinking and find out like you today.
Well, the credit, I have to give it to my parents. They, were the ones that from a very young age, you know, they prepared me. They said, in the world, you're gonna have roadblocks, and they said, you have to be.
I don't think, well, that's a break time, so we're not gonna go into it, but go ahead, Cesar, we'll finish your answer first.
They said, hey, you have to be your own self-advocate, and, you know, and what motivated me, you know, was I came to the conclusion, was if I just sit here with my mouth shut, I'm not gonna get anywhere.
Yeah.
So,
That's right.
so that's what motivated me, even in the tough times where I wanted to give up, where I felt that people weren't listening to me. I said, if I give up, I'm not gonna make it through school. If I give up, I'm not gonna be able to achieve my dreams. So if you have a vision, and you have goals for yourself, that tends to get you through the hard times. I hope that answers your question.
And I think too, that squeaky wheel, the squeaky wheel gets the grease. You ever heard that before?
Yeah.
You just keep saying the same thing over and over and over again until somebody gets the picture.
Right.
And building that relatedness, that relationship with the person as well. If you're having a really hard time, like, man, we're having a really hard time understanding each other. How can we get through this? I really want you to help me, and I want to help you understand as well, because I can do this, and we need to decide together, how are we going to get there, right? Because I think something that's come up in some of the recent presentations that I've done with Determined is people are afraid of what they don't know, right? Fear gets in the way a lot of the time. And when you put somebody in a position where they're having to do something new or something they don't know or something they don't understand, sometimes it looks like they're putting up a roadblock, and they are, but it's really coming out of a place of fear. So how can we get past that fear with that person? And unfortunately, it falls on you guys a lot of the time to get past that roadblock. It shouldn't. And I look for a world where that's not the case. And I hope that that happens one day, that we can design this world to fit everybody. Yeah. Yeah.
I haven't let